to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news, and talks continue for Reguilion, Rashic, Gareth Bale, and what I would say to start off with, some quite significant update on why Manchester United are struggling to sign the likes of Jadon Sancho and Dayot Upamecano, who were, without doubt, targets and priorities of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer that at this moment in time are not Manchester United players, and why Manchester United's transfer plans are now in panic. And that's the title of the show, Solskjaer's transfer panic, because Manchester United's transfer plans have descended into, well, there's plenty of words for it, but panic is probably the best word. Just now, in the last hour, Manchester United, from quite a good source, are in for Uros Rashic. Don't worry if I've got the name wrong. Don't worry if you've never heard of the player, because most people haven't. But this is coming from quite credible outlets now, that Manchester United are in talk with Rashic representatives. He's a young 22-year-old centre midfielder, 6'4", from Valencia. But he didn't play for Valencia last year. He was on loan. That's all I know about him. And Manchester United are apparently very seriously considering putting a bid in for £25 million. There is no way this player was a target of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's at the start of August. Much the same as Reguilion was not a target of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's at the start of August. We're now finding ourselves in a situation where we are days away from the start of this Premier League season, and Manchester United's transfer plans are in tatters, and they are desperately reaching out to try and get cheap players that may improve Manchester United. It is a bloody mess what is going on at the moment, and we may well pull some good players out of the hat. Look, Agallo was a mess signing at the last few hours of January, and it worked out okay. But the planning and organisation of this transfer window by Manchester United is absolutely abysmal yet again. I mean, look, I'm not going to knock Rashic. I mean, Neville says he's a decent holding midfielder. I don't believe anybody who says anything about this player. There's people I respect, journalists, who are saying, look, United are in for him. I know very little about him, because unless you watch this team that he was on loan at last year, nobody knows really anything about him. But he's sort of been, I mean, very, very, very scant detail out there. Some people are saying he's a little bit more like Milinkovic-Savic. Some people are saying he's more like Matic. Some people, he models himself on Pogba. I model myself on Pogba in the back garden. Doesn't mean I'm anything like him. But look, the thing about this that frustrates yet again is that it's just a left field signing coming from absolutely nowhere. It's a panic. It's panic. And he may well be a good signing if it happens, and it probably won't, because these things don't tend to happen. But it's where is this coming from? What is this about? What is it because Matic knows him because he's Serbian? I mean, look, is it a recommendation again? Have we actually scouted him? How would you scout him properly when he's not even been playing for a decent team on loan? 30 million, 25 million, it's just all over the place, and that's the point. I've got nothing against the player. He could be an absolute superstar. He might be scouted really, really well. But where's this come from, and is it not now? Are we just chucking names out there to try and detract from the fact that we've not achieved what our initial priority signings were? The Sanchos of this world, the Grealishes of this world, the Upamecanos of this world. We're now scraping the barrel, desperately trying to get signings in, and it looks a mess. And even if it's not a mess, it looks a mess. So look, let's see what happens with this Rashic. It's quite breaking news sort of thing. It may lead to nothing, may not. What will lead to something, I think, is Reguilion. Let's start off with him. We're going to talk about Gareth Bale. Upamecano, really interesting update on Upamecano. I almost want to get into that straight away, but let me just talk about Reguilion, because that's probably the most at the top of the pile at the moment of something that can happen. Talks continue between Real Madrid and Manchester United, apparently. Expectation that a deal will be done from Spanish outlets. English press more on the fence, saying let's see. But the stumbling block appears to be the buyback clause or first refusal. Now, if we can get a first refusal, that's what we had with Memphis Depay. Memphis Depay is obviously going to Barcelona. Basically, all Lyon do is they sort of say, look, we've had an offer we're going to accept from Barcelona. Do you want to put an offer in? And United say no. So basically, I can live with that, because if United are in control, if we decide we're going to sell Reguilion, we have to let Real Madrid have first refusal. That's fine. What you don't want is a buyback clause, because that means that Real Madrid can say we're buying him back next summer for 25 million quid. Buyback clauses are bad clauses. They're basically an expensive loan. So United will not want to do that. We didn't want it with Haaland, so we're not going to want that. So I think we can move that. If we can get it down to a first refusal, I can deal with that. First refusals really don't matter that much. Buyback clauses are a bad thing. So let's see what happens with that. That could be done very, very quickly. And, you know, I saw something today, and it's absolutely spot on. The last left back we bought really was Luke Shaw, and we bought Luke Shaw when? 2015 maybe? Something like that. So 5 years ago. Every other position we've been buying players in. So it is about time we bought a left back. And to be honest with you, the big issue with left back is Luke Shaw, I think, is a very good left back. But as many people will say, he does get injured sometimes. And there is no young left back coming through. So buying a left-footed left back is very important for United. So hopefully we can get that done. This is what happens when there are no set transfer targets except Sancho. We never knew who Solskjaer assets were since the start, says Amy. And football is meant to be a beacon of hope in these times. The board has honestly made things worse. It's mentally draining. Big ups from Australia, Marks as a ditcher. You know, me and Drawty were talking last night about this. And, you know, football matters. It's not just about going live and having a bit of a laugh. Like, we're all real Manchester United fans who really feel it. And yesterday, I just felt very down yesterday. I felt really drained by this football club. And, you know, the bottom line is millions of Manchester United fans' emotions are in the hands of non-Manchester United fan rich Americans who bought us on debt. That's what I was thinking as I went to sleep last night. However you dress it up, our emotions are in the hands of rich Americans who bought our club. They're not United fans and just want to make money. They hold our emotions every minute of every day. It's wrong. It's wrong. Our emotions should be in the hands of people who care about this club and want it to be decent. You know, the history of this club, everything it's been through. And we now have our emotions in the hands of American bankers, effectively. And it's wrong. What do you do about it, though? Just saw Fabrizio interview. Says Dortmund want no instalments or add-ons for Sancho. They need full payment. It's difficult for any club at this stage to pay full. This is told by Fabrizio, says Anup. And I managed to get sources very close to Sancho through my cousin. Sancho and his agent don't expect to move this summer anymore. Man United won't pay. Says one day you may. And what's your gut feeling now on transfers, Marks? I'm worried because we can only work one deal at a time, says Philip Burtonwood. And I sent a mail of disappointment to the inquiries team at United just to make sure that they know I'm unhappy. Let's do our part and make it known. I've told people quite high up in Manchester United that, and I've been telling them for 18 months that I don't agree with their positivity around what they're doing at the club. They won't listen. They won't listen. Their owners won't let them listen. And watching United go about their transfers is like watching a seriously ill family member. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst, help us throughout, says Tejas. And Luke Shaw is great, but injury prone. Is this season important to his long-term value to our club, in your opinion, says Brian Kelly. And I love Luke Shaw. I just think the injury thing, I would take it on board, which I'm going to talk about in a minute about Gareth Bale, because I can't believe people want Bale at the club. Anyone else wondering how they're going to spin this mess in the transfer market in the presser in a few days, says David Purcell. Well, I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will come out and defend the club. We all love Ole, but Sir Alex Ferguson, we all love him. He will back the Glazers. He will back the Glazers and say it's very difficult and COVID. But it's funny on COVID, isn't it? And welcome to the Members Club Endless Vision TV. Thank you for joining. I'll drop this little nugget in here as well. It's funny how United would not allow COVID prices to impact the Smalling fee and demanded more money, but they're saying we can't afford we can't pay the price for Sancho because of COVID. So hypocrisy reigns, because Roma wanted Smalling for about 12-15 million. United wouldn't accept it because they wanted more. So we won't do Roma the COVID discount, but we're expecting a discount from Dortmund. Hypocrisy. Absolute idiotic hypocrisy from Manchester United's negotiations again. And that feeds quite nicely into what I wanted to talk about Upamecano. So I was talking to somebody this morning about transfers, and you might be able to figure it out if you go through the news yesterday who it was. But we were talking about various transfers. And look, on Sancho, I've got people telling me forget about it. And I've got people telling me negotiations are still going on. I still think it's going to happen. You know, I'm still very confident it'll happen. You can call me an idiot. You can call me deluded. I said yesterday morning the next 48 hours were key. I never said the next 48 hours a deal would be done, despite what some idiots are telling me on Twitter. I never said a deal was going to be done in the next 48 hours. You can check my tweets, you can check. The video I said yesterday morning was that we've got 48 hours to move this deal because it's about Sancho playing against Palace. It had to be, here we go, yesterday or today, to get him holding up the shirt by Thursday. I think we can categorically say, in the make or break of getting Sancho in, it's broke. we're not going to get him in for the Palace game, which is a disgrace. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. But you know what? Put the focus on where it needs to be. The twats who run this football club, because that's what they are. They do not care about success on the pitch. They don't. They want to hide behind COVID-19, saving money, when they've put us in debt for years and they've taken £90 million out in the last 5 years. I'm sorry, I can't dress it up any other way. You can't put it out there. We're trying to save money, we're losing money, when we've been in debt for 15 years. You're a bunch of hypocrites. So, look, it looks like it's broken in relation to that. Well, he's not going to be playing against Dortmund. He's not going to be playing against Palace, is he? That's pretty sure that's not going to happen. I still think it can happen, but I still think, even if it happens after the Palace game, it's a massive mess up of massive proportions. It's just embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing. Anyway, I was talking to somebody this morning. Welcome to Salman V, latest member of the Nightstand Members Club. And I don't care if a Tego family or any rich family owners buy us. I just want our club to be dragged out of this scandalous ownership. Big up United Stances. So don't we all? And if we don't get any more transfers done, it will always end up being the manager's fault and they will have to deal with it. Never the Glazers, says Farhan. I've said this before. I think if we fail because they haven't brought players in, then the manager will go through the cycle again. Ollie will get sacked. Everyone will get optimistic about the next manager. They won't back him. He'll get sacked. We've seen it so many times. I wish I had your confidence, Mark, but the Glazers are so abject at giving us the money to move forward, says Neville Littlejohn. So look, I was talking to somebody this morning about transfers. We touched on Sancho a little bit, but the main interesting thing I wanted to tell you was the Upamecano. Now, Manchester United, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wants Upamecano. He's the priority centre-back. That's the centre-back that he wants. You talk about who the priorities were this summer. Upamecano was right at he wanted a centre-back, and Upamecano was right at the top. We're not going to sign Upamecano. We could get him for about 50 million because he's got a release clause coming in next summer. He had a release clause anyway, but he's got a release clause coming in next summer for around 40 million. If you'd given RB Leipzig a month ago 50 million for Upamecano, they would have took it. Because they know they're going to lose him in a year, and that's a little bit more money, so they would have took it. But the reason, again, Solskjaer cannot get the player that he wants, so therefore goes into the season ill-prepared, is because of money again. Manchester United do not have the money to spend £50 million on Upamecano. They don't actually have the money to spend on Sancho. That is the issue. But they've been in talks extensively with Sancho, and they were very interested in Upamecano. But the reason United have not got the Upamecano deal done is because they haven't moved the players out that they expected. They've basically got a budget that they expected to add 50 to 60 million pounds to allow them to do the business they wanted to do. They've added no money to the initial budget. Now, I put, some people have said that our budget's 100 million. So if it's 100 million, you take 35 off for Van der Beek, it's 65. I personally think, going off the last few years, our net spend's been around 60 to 70. So I think we've got 70 million to spend. We've taken 35 million off for that for Van der Beek, so we've got 35 million left. I think that's what we've got left. And the reason we've not been able to bring an Upamecano in, and the reason we can't construct the deal that Dortmund want, is because we've not offloaded any players. So Solskjaer is basically double. It's like two punches to the groin. He's not getting the players that he wanted and that we've worked on, and he's still going to have the players that he doesn't want. The Chris Smallings, the Marcus Rojos, the Phil Jones, the Andres Pereiras, the Delos. All these players would have brought in the 50 million, 60 million that we needed to get the business done. So the reason... I mean, Sancho is probably a little bit different, but the reason Upamecano is not a Manchester United player is because United and Woodward and Judge and everybody else have not removed the players from the club that we needed to remove to bump up the budget to get those players in. So we failed. We failed in a transfer window. And people just think, well, United just need to write a cheque. Look, I'm not going to be that naive. Of course, you've got to balance the books. But the books... I mean, in some ways, you can take a little bit of blame off the Glazers here, because the Glazers could say, that's your transfer budget, but whatever you make, you can add to it. Well, they've made no money. We've not removed anything. Nothing has been taken out. There is no player that's been sold for value yet. The only deal is Alexis Sanchez, which is $2 million a month saved on wages, but we've not provided the transfer budget to bring the players in that Solskjaer wants. They've failed, absolutely failed. So, it's just disappointing when you have a conversation like that, United did want to get Upamecano, and it probably would have happened if they'd got rid of 3 or 4 of the players that they were meant to get rid of, but they haven't. And they've messed up another transfer window. Sad, isn't it? But not unexpected. I was with you on Sancho, Mark. Don't think the Sancho deal will happen now. Love the channel, but I've lost faith in that deal, says Mikan. And it's not just us. Liverpool, Madrid, Barca, Bayern are not spending... wait a minute, let me have a look. I've missed the chat. Okay. So... I really want to read that one. It's quite a good one. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Laughing stock again. I'm just embarrassed and so sad, says Shane O'Hare. I don't know where that chat has gone. They might have retracted it because we were on the ball there. But basically, somebody was going to say it's probably Ed Woodward under a fake name. United aren't the only ones not spending. Liverpool, Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich are not spending. There's a very big difference there, though, isn't there? Liverpool are the champions of England. Bayern Munich are the best team in the world. Real Madrid and Barcelona consistently fight for the title in their country and get to quarterfinals of the Champions League. We're not Real Madrid, we're not Barcelona, and we're not Liverpool. You know, we're not those clubs anymore. We may be in name, but as a football club, we're not there. We can't jump into the Liverpool and Bayern Munich and Barcelona Real Madrid club when it suits us to not spend money. We're not in that club because we haven't brought the players in to get into that club. So... You know, what we basically saying, man, it's fine not to spend money and it's fine to stay the crap, ambitionless club that we've been for the last 8 years because Liverpool are doing it. But Liverpool are the best team in England. You know, so basically, if you want to believe, well, we can't spend money because Liverpool aren't, that's fine. But you may as well sit down and establish yourself as a club that's always going to fight for 5th and 4th. You know, are we not one of the richest clubs in the world? Are we not a club that, you know, actually for the last 15 years has constantly put out there it's fine to live on debt, it's fine to have 300 or 400 million pounds on debt because we can just manage the debt? Well, I'm sorry, maybe actually construct a bit of that debt on buying players instead of now saying, well, we can't buy players because of COVID. Bollocks. You've been in debt for years. I know the Saudis are questionable, but I'd actually take them over the Glazers. The Glazers are actually stealing the money we generate as fans. Fraud, says Dylan Taylor. I don't want to get into the hypotheticals of like new signings, new people owning the club or anything like that. But you know, there's definitely questionable issues around the Saudi Arabian regime taking over Manchester United. But also, you know, are there not moral issues around people buying our club on debt who don't support us and absolutely draining the club out? So, you know. Man United are too slow on transfers. If we don't get a right winger, we will struggle. Sancho, any option to get next level. Keep it up, Mark. Big inspiration, says Endless Vision TV. Woodward, when all of the deals go in the toilet, maybe next window, says Duke of Knowledge. We are relaxed about our transfers. Man United board 2020. Now they're panicking and leaking about players we're probably not in for. Never heard of this. Board is an absolute joke, says Sam. And Matt Judge is the real culprit, in my opinion, not Woodward, says Soham. We'll never know who the real culprit is because we don't actually know what money we've got available and how close to deals we are and whether we've renegotiated. And the Glazers just don't care. They've made their money at the bed. It's time to remove the monster from under the bed and become great again. Glazers out, says Mr. Beast. If there was anything that we could get behind as a community, I'm sure we would all do it. But you know what? Glazers out on Twitter, marches outside the ground. These things they're not going to do it. I couldn't sleep last night thinking about Manchester United Football Club and the mess we're in, and that was just running through my head. Millions of us are fed up and mentally drained because of American owners, and they could be Chinese, they could be Indian, they could be Australian. That's not the point, but they are American, and the reason I say American is because they spend most of their time in America. American owners who bought us on debt, who don't support the club and just want to drain us of money. Those people, however many of them there are, they have all our emotions in their hands. Their decision impacts all of us. And yet we are passionate Manchester United fans who live, breathe the club, and our emotions are in the hands of rich American owners who really just want to take money out of the club. It's wrong. It's just when you break it down to that sentence, how is this acceptable? How is this acceptable that millions of passionate United fans who love the club, who spend most of their day thinking about the club, your emotions every day are in the hands of rich American owners who just want to take your money? It's wrong. It's a dictatorship, effectively. It's just so weirdly wrong. And yet we apathetically accept it year after year after year. baffling. The likes of Liverpool not spending doesn't make us not spending okay. We're so far behind Liverpool and City, it's disgusting. This club sickens me, says Adam Creighton. And Sancho follows almost all big Liverpool players, non-English as well. Don't follow anyone from Man United team except 2 English players. Need to move on and pursue some other players, says Sunside Digital Media Agency. I mean, that doesn't mean anything. I mean, look, the Dortmund director of football, Sebastian Kehl, said yesterday, Sancho will play for Dortmund this season. United haven't submitted a new bid to sign him. That, Jadon Sancho wants to come to Manchester United. Fact. He loves the prospect of coming to Manchester United. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's number 1 priority is Jadon Sancho. Fact. Those 2 things should mean the deal is done. But Dortmund's coming out and saying he's going to be a Dortmund player next year. They've got every right to say that because at the moment he will be. They're basically taunting United. No, I mean, he says it there. He'll be a Dortmund player next year because United haven't submitted a new bid to sign him. That means if United submit a new bid to sign him, he will come to Manchester United. People seem to forget here on the Sancho deal that the reason it's not happening is because Manchester United won't pay the price. I think some people are trying to turn it into, oh, look at all those people who said it was going to happen. What a bunch of prats. The reality is, the evidence is there. This is not a paper story. This is not Bruno of last summer where it didn't actually get public how interested we were in it. It was just the Portuguese press. This is English. I mean, it's less than a week ago that the English press on Friday was saying major breakthrough in the Sancho deal. Terms agreed. That was a briefing from the club. So, and 3 days later we're led to believe that now the deal's off. I mean, maybe it is off, but I don't think it is. And also, I just think that people need to grasp that the reason this deal isn't happening is because the Glazers won't put their hand in the pocket. That's the only reason. The player wants to come to us. We want him. My granddad has been a season ticket holder since the mid-80s. He's lost all interest now, Mark. It's not a football club anymore, sadly, says Reece Gregory. Jordan Such, morning, Mark. I still can't believe that in terms of points last season, we finished closer to Bournemouth, who got relegated, than Liverpool. Also, I don't see Everton using COVID as an excuse. No, they're not. They're not. You're right. Mark, when Jose joined, I thought, thank God that will be Jones and Smalling gone, says Sean from Ireland. I feel it all boils down to the board overpaying the players. Cannot sell Deadwood now and raise cash, which they plan to put into the transfer pot. Tired of this club's incompetence, Mark, says Amy. Well, that's true. It is incompetence. We've not been able to remove the Deadwood to add to the transfer pot, which has cost us the likes of Upamecano. How do you buy a club if you don't use any of your own money? The club is buying itself for the Glazers' benefit. Shouldn't be allowed, says Murray. Well, you know what? I think, yeah, you're right on that. And the Premier League hold the key to change. They need to change the laws around the football club so the Glazers can't take money out from the club, says Jacob is red. Let's talk about Gareth Bale, though, because Gareth Bale is a player where talks apparently continue. Reguilion, let's see what's going to happen today, like I said. Gareth Bale, the latest on Gareth Bale is that Real Madrid want nothing to do with him. Zidane doesn't want him. We've known this for a long time. And Gareth Bale has now decided that he wants to play football. So there is a possibility for Manchester United to do a loan deal. Apparently Gareth Bale doesn't want to do a loan deal. He wants to go permanently somewhere. What I would say is, if you've been frustrated by the Jadon Sancho deal and you think Gareth Bale is a tonic, a very quick tonic, let's just get anybody in, if you want Bale, you've got to jump into it, passionately want it to happen, and then watch how long it's going to take to happen. This is not... If you know Gareth Bale, you know his agent, you know Real Madrid, and you know Manchester United, this is not, can you sign on loan, Gareth, and come tomorrow? This is going to take right to the end of the transfer window. I mean, I don't want Gareth Bale at Manchester United. I've been very, very open about this. There's very many reasons I don't want it happening. I've seen a few people saying he's got a point to prove. Did he not have a point to prove at Real Madrid when he was on 600k a week in his late 20s? You know, why has Gareth Bale got a point to prove at Manchester United? Does Gareth Bale strike you as a player sat in the stands who cares about points to prove? He's a multi-millionaire footballer. He's probably achieved everything he's ever going to achieve. Like, what is the point to prove at Manchester United? And the most important thing is that people really do not want to take on board with Gareth Bale, and you really should. Forget the fact that I think it's just another Di Maria where a player's come into the club that doesn't want to be here to earn money and he won't be that good. The most important thing is I think he'll be an Alexis Sanchez. He will get injured. In the last 3 years, Gareth Bale has had, count this, 13 separate injuries. 13 separate injuries in the last 3 seasons. And on top of that, the last 2 seasons, he hasn't even played that much. So this isn't a player who's getting injured from playing a lot of games. This is a player who's been a bit part player and still has had 13 injuries. And he's 31. At what point is paying £300,000 a week on a 31-year-old who's not really played that much football, hasn't really given much attitude of wanting to play football, and has had 13 separate injuries? At what point do you think he's coming into Manchester United to revitalise United, play 60 games and be a game changer? It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous that people think this is a deal that is good for United. I don't know. I mean, look, there will be people like you who think that. And I respect that. It's your opinion. That's what it's all about. But to me, I'm like, we've been down this road so many times. We've made this mistake so many times. And as I said last night, it is 100% categorically not Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's want. He will not have added a list saying, I want Sancho, I'd like Adama Traore, I quite like the look of this player. Oh, and Gareth Bale, if we can't get any of them. Gareth Bale would not have been on the list. He wouldn't be on the list. This is, again, what I'm talking about. Transfer panic. We can't get the Sancho deal we want. Oh, Gareth Bale, Real Madrid are begging us to take him. That was a good player. No. It was not Woodward buying Barca Madrid. Comments were posted by me from Fabrizio to hate our owners. We are way behind all the clubs. Anup says, mentioned, but my comment was on budget. I can't... if it can't buy Sancho, how can we? Says Anup. And our average spend is 75 million per season, second only to City. The Glazers are spending on players. The blame has to fall on recruitment. We need a director of football, says Daniel McCreadle. I mean, just going back to Salah Ahmed says the deal's not off. It will happen on deadline day. I still think the deal will happen for Sancho, by the way. But going back to what Anup said there about other clubs not spending, riddle me this. Did Real Madrid ever start negotiating with Jadon Sancho? No. Did Liverpool? No. Did Barcelona? No. Those three clubs made it very... Did Bayern Munich? No. Those four clubs made it very, very clear that they weren't going to spend a lot of money this transfer window and never bothered negotiating because it would have been a waste of time. You cannot put Manchester United, and I respect Romano and I respect anybody who says that you cannot put Manchester United into the same category as those four clubs and say, well, they're not spending, when Manchester United have been negotiating with Sancho and Dortmund for a very long time. Way after COVID hit. So United cannot use the COVID excuse. They went into negotiations and still are in negotiations with Dortmund, by the way, for a player that Dortmund always said 120 million euro. And you cannot say now, well, I agree. United shouldn't spend that money. Liverpool haven't spent any money. You can't use that argument because Liverpool never went into negotiations and made it obvious to their fans that they were looking to buy this player. Man United did. United went into those negotiations. They've put information out there that they're in their negotiations. They've not denied those negotiations. And they always knew he had 3 years left on his contract and that Dortmund wanted 120 million euro. United cannot say, oh, COVID, when they've known about COVID and still been in negotiations for weeks and weeks and weeks. It's a poor excuse because we've been negotiating. We knew about COVID and we knew the fee that Dortmund wanted. It's all a smokescreen if that's going to be their excuse to get out of it, because they went into the deal knowing what money they had, knowing the money that Dortmund wanted, and still have not managed to get a deal done. Mark, are you still 90% sure that the deal will happen? Says Salah Ahmed. I am. And I'm sure Shaw's up the back line. Also, we need to bail on Bale, says Vito Goodman. I like what you've done there. A director of football has never been more important than now. I really think Ollie needs help. They don't listen to him because of his experience as progressive dad. Everybody who says Man United need a director of football is 100% right. We've needed one for about 8 years. I don't think we'll ever get one, and if we do get one, it'll be a watered down version of one, because Manchester United, whoever the people are, whether it's Woodward, Judge or anybody else, they're playing the best game of football manager you can ever play. They don't want to relinquish the power they've got, even though they're useless at what they do with it. If we had a director of football, United would change overnight. We would not sign players on stupid long contracts on ridiculous wages. We wouldn't even sign players on stupid wages. We'd get rid of the deadwood and we'd be well prepared in relation to transfer windows. There's so many areas that a director of football, a good, competent director of football, would improve United. But I've got no confidence we'll ever do it, because I don't think the people who are doing transfers at the moment ever want to give up their dream job, even though they're not very good at it. So yeah. Just a little bit of topical news. COVID testing is back taking place now because the Premier League's back. 4 positive cases in over 2,500 people who've been tested. So that's good news because COVID infection rates are on the rise in the UK at the moment. But obviously Premier League footballers and their staff and everything are doing very well. Only 4 there. So football can continue, which is good. Anything else I wanted to talk about? I've told you about the Bale injuries. Obviously, Uris Rashic, let's keep an eye on that one. Panic. Stop saying American owners, just say owners, says Charlie Scott. I'll say American owners, thank you, because they are American. And the point of saying American owners is so that people know that our owners are not in this country. They're in America. As I said, they could be Indian owners, Australian owners. I don't really care. They're American owners, and the reason I say American owners is because they're American, and also they spend most of the time in America. They're not. They bought us to live in America and cream the money out of our football club. They're not hands-on owners. They're not. They bought us on debt. They take money out of the club, and that's all they want to do. They're not hands-on owners. They're over in America, and they've got their little assets and millions of United fans in their hands. The only point Gareth Bale has to prove is shorting the course record at the local golf club. He should be nowhere near this football club, says Josh. And Mark, did you see Gary Neville on Monday Night Football breaking down the stats on what's needed in goals and assists from the front 3? Sancho would put us near the top in these stats, says Darren Cox. I woke up this morning hoping to see encouraging news on Sancho, but yet again, utter disappointment. We are watching our great club be destroyed, says Sack Jones. And the Sancho deal feels like Griezmann 2.0, another rubbish season fighting for top 4, getting bantered every week for some reason or another, says David O'Dwyer. And biggest laugh out loud of the day, shares in the Manchester United Golf Club are up significantly on the Bale news. Wish I was joking, says Loz. If Gareth Bale signs for United, he'll get my backing. If Josh King signs for United, he'll get my backing, because I just believe when a player comes in and they're new, you should do that. But I'm totally against those sort of signings. And you know that's what's going to happen. You know we're going to get Josh King at some point. And yeah. Anyway, look. Thanks everyone for watching. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Look, maybe we'll get Reguilion done today. I certainly think United need to put out some sort of positive story to try and paper the cracks of the mess they've made of the Sancho deal. But they won't paper the cracks, will they? Because I think we all, if you're a United fan today, you've all got that feeling of despair in there, haven't you? If you've got that, that's the one I've got. That's what many of us have got at the moment. The strain, the disappointment, the despair. I still think it can happen. I still think it will happen, but it should have happened by now. And just yet again, we've exposed ourselves to the footballing world in how inept we are at doing transfers. It's an embarrassment yet again. Honestly, Mark, if we had a director of football, we would have signed Pulisic ages ago and wouldn't even be in this mess to begin with, says Benjamin. Well, yeah, it's been going. The thing is, this is nothing new. It's nothing new. It's been going on for years and years and years and years. And if the Glazers actually did care about the football club being a football club, they would have sacked Matt Judge and Woodward a long time ago, because they're no good at the job that they do in recruiting players. You'd get a director of football in like Abramovich does. But United Glazers won't sack those people because those people have made them a lot of money in other areas. I mean, Woodward was fundamental to the buying of Manchester United. They're never going to remove him because he's their mate. He's the one who made all this happen. He's the one who helps them get all the dividends out of the club. We're just a business. Just a business with bad people running the football side of things. No one complaining about the transfer sum for Sancho should remember the Glazers got a world record fee for Ronaldo in 2020 and never 2010 and never replaced him, says Mehul. Exactly. It's been going on for years and years. This is nothing new. It's been going on with... When I feel the same now as I did many summers when Sir Alex Ferguson was in charge. This has been happening for the younger generation. This is nothing new. Under the Glazers, this has happened year after year after year, even with Sir Alex. And we still won titles with Sir Alex because he was a genius. But we needed midfield signings, and it would be like there's no value in the market. Trust me, the older fans will know. This has been going on for years and years and years. Rich American owners sat there overseas, bought us on debt, taking millions out in dividends, with every single one United fans in their hands, emotions, just absolutely playing with us like prats. This club is a joke. When you've got the likes of Chelsea spending 200 million, it all ticks the boxes. Amazing player shirt sales. Why waste 6 months talking? Just get the deal done, says Dan Hunt. Well, I put my Bruno t-shirt on today because I just wanted to feel a little bit positive when I was looking at myself back in the mirror, in the screen. But Yeah, I'm struggling. I'm struggling at the moment. But thanks everyone for watching. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe if you're new. And we'll be back later.